Tonight, Lyle and Erik eat another meal in the chow hall of the Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility, where the brothers have been for years. And at the same time, someone who spent years with them in that prison is here with me. Anerae X-rated Brown was sentenced to life for a gang-related murder, but he credits Lyle and Erik with helping him turn his life around, earn his parole, and find success as a rapper. X-rated, thanks for being on tonight. I really appreciate this chance to talk with you. You know them better than most people out there who've just seen the documentary, on Netflix. How do you suppose they're taking the news of what happened today and all these delays one after the other?
They are very composed people, and in that environment, an unfortunate consequence of what they've been through the judicial system, the courts of appeals, putting in habeas petitions and things like that. There's a lot of rejection, there's a lot of waiting, hoping, and then an eventual settling into the reality of what your experience is. So they've seen a lot, they've been through a lot of these processes, and I believe that they're handling everything with composure. I did a video chat with both of the brothers and the family earlier this evening, and they were okay. They were okay.
What'd they say? Tell me about the chat, if you're allowed to.
Well, it just seemed, it was like, more waiting, and here we go, but it was more focused on them having the opportunity to speak with the family. There were probably about 14 of us gathered in that room, maybe a little less than that. But to see Terry through the video chat. So I think we were more focused on that side of it, family, and just a little bit of joy within the waiting and more waiting. So yeah, the focus in this particular instance was just on family and the joy of seeing family.
Yeah. So Terry, if I'm not mistaken, is Jose's sister. She's the person who went to the hospital. She's in her 90s after those pictures came up in the hearing last week of Jose's body riddled with bullets. It was a very upsetting crime scene picture, and the family's upset. They didn't get warned about that. You said that she was on the video chat tonight. How is she?
The boys were able to see her. She's an amazing woman, one of the strongest women that you'd ever encounter, a fantastic spirit, and she's gaining strength, and we're proud for that. We're happy about that.
Is she out of the hospital?
I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of the family with regard to things that are too specific in details like that. I don't believe it's appropriate for me to do that.
Understand completely. And I actually want to steer the conversation towards your time that you spent with Erik and Lyle, because for a lot of us, we see it on paper. We're reading the reports. We're reading that they've done all these programs. They had started all these, these programs to help other inmates, to make a jail and a prison facility more of an environment for rehabilitation, right? And we rarely get the chance to speak with people who spent the time. So walk me through a little bit about what these two men are like from your perspective.
So interestingly enough, they always talk about, oh, Lyle, he's portrayed as this arrogant guy. And when we first met, I was a 24, 25-year-old rapper with music out. I'm hitting the Billboard charts. I'm in Playboy magazine, LA Times, and, I was the one that was a bit cocky. And we were at an institution together, and I'm wearing big chains and, Rolexes and diamonds in my ears, even though you're not supposed to have that type of stuff. And I did an interview in the day room with the music magazine, and, they had cameras and lights set up. And, of course, Lyle observed that, and a day later or so, he called me over to him, and we had a conversation where, he just told me he thought I had so much more potential than, some of the characteristics that I was exhibiting. I still was associating with known gang members. It still mattered to me what people thought of me, my perception, being flashy, refusing to do jobs on the prison facility grounds. And there was Lyle who told me that he thought I could use my influence for positive means. And I respected the fact that, you know, his stature, he had a lot of media coverage. As in that population, there aren't a lot of us who have what you would call celebrity. You know, you have people who are doing their time and just trying to get through their experience. That's the great majority of the population. And then you'll have somebody like myself and Lyle Menendez, and I could look at him as someone who was doing well and, you know, doing interviews with Barbara Walters. So I just thought that his input was important for me to accept. I was at a stage in my life where I've been thinking these things, but I didn't necessarily have the fortitude at the time to start applying what I believed was necessary for my life. And Lyle was the one who pushed me towards starting to educate myself and go to self-help groups and things like that. And so, you know, I started doing so, anger management courses, meetings with psychologists, AA, NA. And then I transferred to a facility where Erik was. And Lyle wrote him a letter and told him I was on my way. And he said, treat him like I arrived. You know, I love him, you love him. And so Erik was like, all right, I got you. And Erik kind of took it from there. I did NA groups with him, AA groups, 12-step groups, meditation groups, participated in the life care and hospice program that he actually founded. And yeah, they just encouraged me to do everything that I could to improve myself. Once Senate Bill 260 came into law in 2012, authored by Senator Lonnie Hancock, and signed into law by Governor Jerry Brown in 2013, the brothers were just so excited for the fact that I qualified as a youthful offender and had an opportunity to, as someone who faced the death penalty as a 17-year-old, ultimately was transferred over to adult court, defeated the death penalty aspect, and then ultimately was convicted and sentenced to 31 years to life in state prison. I became eligible for parole as a youthful offender in 2013 when Senate Bill 260 was signed into law.
And this is what's so incredible, is that this is the law that they are now qualifying under for a resentencing, is the youthful offender law. So they helped you to basically petition, get out of prison on parole and change your life. And now look at you. I mean, a success story. One of the things I never hear about X-rated, or rarely hear about, is cohesion between the races in prison. And I did not know that you and the brothers actually got together and worked towards sort of mediation between different races in prison. It's just sort of a story you don't hear very often. Tell me a little bit about that and how you ended up being like the little brother almost of these guys.
Yeah, I believe that what we experienced was hopelessness in that environment. There was pervasive hopelessness and learned helplessness in that environment. And, you know, hurt people. So we had a proliferation. The population just exploded as a result of the 3 strikes law, where, you know, people who weren't necessarily hardened criminals, but maybe, you know, people who had drug problems, they got 3 strikes for, you know, they had a fist fight before, they stole a slice of pizza, now they have 25 to life. Population explodes. We have this crisis of overcrowding, and there was just pervasive hopelessness. And then when the laws started to change, California's fight to repeal the 3 strikes law, and then Senate Bill 260 going into effect and lifers actually having a legitimate opportunity to go home, which partially is a travesty of justice because 260 was authored largely as a result of the SCOTUS ruling in Miller versus Alabama, which was a debate about capital punishment for juveniles focused on the death penalty and LWOP, which would actually have applied to Lyle and Erik, but instead of addressing LWOPs, California chose to focus on people with indeterminate sentences, such as myself. So this law actually came into effect as a result of them examining things that would have applied to Lyle and Erik, but they chose to go in a different direction in order to, I think California wanted to have a lighter rollout and not have
Yeah, I'm so sorry to cut you off. I have to leave it there, but I want to have you back on the program because clearly today ended without, the result that we wanted, which was some resolution. And when there is resolution, I'd love to have you back because clearly this is near and dear and personal to you. So I hope you'll come back on the program again.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. Anerae X-rated Brown. Do appreciate that.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.